Alright, so today we're going to be going over how to create a website, and we'll be using Adobe Dreamweaver CS4 and Firefox as our tools. So let's go ahead and open up Dreamweaver. We're going to create a new file. We're going to create an HTML file, and it's going to be XHTML 1.0 transitional, just the easiest to use. We're going to go ahead and create that file now. And let's get started here. You'll see it goes to design mode in Dreamweaver automatically. We're going to switch over to code mode because that's what we use. You'll see the HTML tags already in there. Within there, you'll see the head tags. Within the head tags, you will see the title and the meta tags. These are pre-coded because they are that important to the website. Meta tags help you with search engine optimization, and the title is what you see at the top of the web page when you go to look at it. You'll also see the body tags in here. The body tag is what the actual website will be coded in. The body tag shows everything within the actual website, and that's where it will be coded. So let's go ahead and first we're going to change the title here. We're going to name it Test Website. We'll go ahead and get this saved. We're going to name it Index.html just because that's what it should be called. And we're going to go ahead and open it in Firefox to test it. And you'll see up there it does say Test Website, so we know that worked. And the tab name is also Test Website. So we're going to go ahead and close out of here and we'll get started on coding. First thing we'll code is going to be the div for the wrapper. The wrapper is what contains the entire website. Once we've done the opening for the div wrapper, we're going to go ahead and give ourselves some space and then close the div for it. And next what we're going to do is code the divs within the wrapper. Those divs are going to be navigation, content, and footer. So with each div, we're giving it an ID name because they're each only going to be used once. If we were going to need to label them multiple times, we would use a class instead of an ID. But that isn't the case here, so I'm going to go ahead and get the divs all coded in here. And just get some organization, some spacing in there. And next what we'll do is just code in the list for the navigation. UL means unordered list. UL means unordered list, LI means list item. We're going to go ahead and do a list item for each of the 5 navigation items that we'll have. And it's easiest to do navigation in the list only because it's simplified and keeps everything nice and organized, and it's also easier to style it while it's in list format. So we'll go ahead, we finished with the list items, we're going to close the unordered list, and within the navigation ID is where the list is. Next we're going to add the p tag and just put some paragraphs in the content. For the sake of this test website, we're just going to put in some lorem ipsum. And I've already gotten that from a website, so we'll go ahead and paste that into there from this Word document. And once we have that pasted in there, there are actually 2 paragraphs, so we're going to go ahead and separate those out in there. And once we've done that, you can see the 2 different paragraphs in there. And they're each coded with their own p tag. Get a little bit of spacing done in there, and then we have the navigation, the content. Now we're going to work on the footer. We're just going to put a simple copyright in the footer area just to show where the footer will be located and how easy it is to have. We're going to go ahead and check the browser compatibility. If it's correct, both will be blank or say no errors. In this case it does, which is great. So we're going to go ahead and save and open. And this is what it is so far without any of our CSS, the cascading style sheets have not yet been added. So far there are no styles or structure, but that's what we're going to do right now. So in the head tag, beneath the title, we're going to go ahead and add a style tag, and the style is going to be a CSS type. We'll go ahead and get that closed, and we'll start with the body. For body, we just do a margin 0, and that's just to make sure that there's no gap between the bookmarks bar or the top URL bar and the actual website beginning. Next, we're going to go ahead and just give some basic coding to the divs, the wrapper, the navigation, content, and footer, each of which will have a height and a width. The wrapper is going to have a margin 0 auto, and this is to center the web page and contain it so it's all in a singular unit as opposed to just everywhere on the screen. The navigation, the content, and the footer will all have a float. It'll be a float left, and that's just so it's organized and again it's following each other. All of them will have the width of 800 pixels because there is nothing that isn't going to be the full width of the wrapper. Everything's just going to be layered in there as in rows. And once we have all of this in here, we'll go ahead and we just added some basic heights. We'll probably end up changing those as we go, but for now we're just getting the basics set up in here. Once we have all of that in here, we're just going to go ahead and add some styling for the actual list where the navigation is. List style type none, so it has no bullets. Padding and margin 0, just so there's no awkward spacing in it. Next, we're going to do the list item styles, and in here we're going to display inline, so they're all in a row as opposed to listing vertically. In here you can see they've been listed, but they're not very formatted as far as spacing, so that's what we're going to go ahead and work on next. In here you can see we've added text decoration none, so there's no underline or any weird things. We've got the float and the height and the width all set, and you can see we've got a progress in here. Now the links are not looking proper, and that's because we just have some things to add. We're going to give them some margin, see if that helps. Since that isn't helping, we're going to go ahead and see what we can do about adding a padding. And as you can see here, the padding hasn't made a difference, and this is because we've coded the anchor in the styles, but we have not put an anchor within the actual HTML. So what we're going to do to each list item is make them an anchor or a link. They're going to be linked to a number sign just because that means the page won't actually change. Once we get all those tags closed, we'll go ahead and try this one more time here. And you can see the spacing, and they're now links, which is great. Go back to our code, and we're just going to change a few things, get the spacing worked out correctly. We're going to change the width to auto and text align center and see how that looks. As you can see, the width auto isn't working correctly, so we'll go ahead and change the width auto and set it to 20%. That way, since there are 5 links, each link will be 20% width, and again we'll add the text align center. And that's basically what we're looking for. We're going to go ahead and just add a quick padding top on it so it's not too close to the top there. And we're also going to give it a light background color and see how that looks. And we're getting there. That looks a lot better. We're going to probably take away a little bit of height, add a little more padding top, just to get those links really to match up in there. There we go. So you can see they're nice and centered. What we'll do now is change the font color of the actual links. Now they're black, so they're not that blue. Now what we're going to go ahead and do in here is just add a quick image into the content area. And basically this is just going to be aligned to the right so that the paragraph follows it to the left. Now you can see the image is kind of big here. We're going to go ahead and just give it a height and a width, about half of what it actually is. So that'll just make it a little smaller, a little more proportional to the website we're creating. And so that looks pretty great there. We're going to add some basic styles to the paragraph, just a quick text align justify so it doesn't look awkward. Add a text indent just so it's known that there are paragraphs. Now we're going to go ahead and give a style to the image, just a quick padding. And this is just so text isn't running into the image or the image isn't running into any borders, and just looks nicer that way. So you can see just a little bit of gap really helps it out. And we're also going to get the footer styled. Change the font size and the text align so it's centered. Now we're going to go ahead and give some of them some backgrounds just to make the website flow a little nicer. We're going to change the background of the links to a darker color, and we're going to change the link color to a white. As you can see, that just looks a little nicer. So next what we're going to do, as I mentioned earlier, is we're just going to change the footer a little bit, make it so that those links aren't pressing up against the top, and we're going to make the content about 150 pixels shorter. Also change the wrapper size so that all fits. And there we have it. Basically, that's all we need to do. We're just going to add a quick hover effect. And for testing purposes, we're just going to make the color of it orange instead of white so we can actually see the effect and make sure it's taking place correctly. And that's going to be a nice orange, so we'll go ahead and save and test that out. And there we go. Your website's all done, and that's how you create a basic website.